The boy did not cry. He did not shout. He did not move. He simply sat in the back seat of the car and looked through the window. Outside, the parking lot was calm. Sunlight reflected off car roofs. People pushed shopping carts. Life moved forward, unaware. Near the end of the row, a biker stood beside his motorcycle. His name was Daniel. He was older, quiet, the kind of man people noticed but rarely approached. Daniel was fastening his helmet when he felt it. That strange feeling of being watched. He looked up. A small boy was staring at him from inside a gray SUV. Their eyes met. At first, Daniel almost looked away. He told himself it was nothing, just a child waiting for an adult. Then the boy raised his hands, pressed them gently against the glass, and moved his lips. Daniel leaned slightly to see better. The words were silent, but clear. "She is not my mom." Daniel froze, not from fear, from confusion. The woman near the trunk closed the back door of the SUV. She looked tired, focused, like someone trying to finish a long day. Daniel watched carefully. The boy mouthed the words again, slower this time. "She is not my mom." Daniel's heart felt heavy. He did not rush. He did not panic. He remembered something his father once told him. If you are unsure, slow down. Kindness moves faster than force. Daniel stepped away from his motorcycle and walked calmly toward the car. He stayed visible. Hands relaxed. No sudden moves. The woman noticed him and turned. "Yes?" she asked. Her voice was firm but polite. Daniel nodded. "Sorry to bother you. I just wanted to check if everything is okay." She frowned slightly. "Everything is fine." Daniel glanced at the back seat, then back at her. "Your son looks a little upset," he said gently. The woman straightened. "He is just tired. We are heading home." Daniel nodded again. "That makes sense." The boy shook his head. Small, fast, almost unnoticeable. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He chose his words carefully. "What is his name?" he asked. The woman hesitated for a brief moment. "Ethan," she said. Daniel smiled softly. "Ethan," he repeated. Then he looked toward the window. "Hi, Ethan." The boy swallowed. His eyes filled with emotion. But he did not cry. Instead, he mouthed the words again. "Not my mom." Daniel did not repeat them out loud. He respected the silence. He looked back at the woman. "Would you mind if we all took a minute? Just to make sure he feels comfortable." Her expression changed. "Why?" she asked. Daniel kept his voice steady. Sometimes kids struggle to express big feelings. The woman crossed her arms. "I am responsible for him." Daniel nodded. "I believe you." That surprised her. "Then why are you standing here?" Daniel took a breath. "Because he seems like he needs help being heard." The parking lot felt quieter now. A few people nearby slowed down. Not staring, just aware. The woman sighed. "We are fine," she said. But her voice sounded strained. Daniel took one small step back. "I am not accusing you. I just want to be careful." The boy pressed his forehead to the glass. His lips trembled. "Please." The word barely formed. Daniel felt something shift inside him. He looked at the woman. Would it be okay to call someone he trusts? Just to reassure him. Her jaw tightened. "His father is busy." Daniel nodded. "Then we can wait together." Just a moment. Silence stretched between them. The woman looked at the car, at the boy, then at Daniel. Finally, she spoke quietly. "1 minute." Daniel exhaled slowly. "Thank you." He stepped to the side, giving space. The boy's shoulders relaxed just a little. Daniel knew this moment mattered. Not because he needed to be right, but because a child needed to be heard. And sometimes that is enough to change everything. Daniel stood a few steps away and waited. He did not look at the phone. He did not look around. He watched the boy. The boy watched him back. The woman took out her phone with slow hands. She unlocked it, paused, then held it to her ear. "Hello," she said. "Yes, we are outside the store." Daniel stayed quiet. The boy leaned closer to the window. His breathing was fast but controlled, like he was trying to be brave. The woman turned slightly away as she spoke. Her voice lowered. "There is a man here," she said. No, he is calm. Yes, I know. She listened, nodded, then pressed a button and held the phone toward the back seat. Someone wants to talk to you, she said. The boy hesitated. Daniel crouched slowly so he was at eye level with the window. You can just listen, Daniel said softly. You do not have to say anything yet. The phone speaker clicked on. Hey buddy, a man's voice said. It is me. The boy's face changed. Not joy. Relief. Dad, the boy whispered. Yes, I am here, the voice replied. I am listening. The boy's shoulders dropped. Tension left his body like air from a balloon. The woman looked down. Her eyes softened. Daniel stepped back to give them space. The boy spoke again. She is nice, he said. But she is not Mom. The voice on the phone was gentle. I know, the man said. And it is okay to say that. The woman closed her eyes for a moment. I should have told him better, she said quietly. Daniel looked at her. Change is hard, he said. Especially for kids. She nodded. I wanted to help, she said. I did not know he felt this way. The boy pressed the phone closer. I missed the old routine, he said. I got confused. The man's voice stayed calm. Thank you for telling me, he said. That takes courage. Daniel felt a quiet warmth in his chest. The woman wiped her eyes. I am sorry, she said to the boy. I should have asked how you felt. The boy nodded, not fully smiling, but calmer. Daniel stood. I think you are doing the right thing now, he said. The woman looked at him. Thank you for stopping, she said. You were respectful. Daniel shook his head. Thank you for listening, he replied. A few minutes later, a car pulled into the lot. A man stepped out quickly but carefully. He went straight to the boy. They hugged. Not rushed. Not dramatic. Just real. The man looked up at Daniel. You noticed, he said. Daniel nodded. He needed someone to slow down, Daniel replied. The man smiled. That matters more than you know. The woman stood nearby. We will talk more, she said. Together. The boy looked at Daniel one last time. Thank you, he said. Daniel smiled. You did great, he replied. Daniel walked back to his motorcycle. He put on his helmet. Sat still for a moment. He thought about how easy it would have been to walk away. How small choices carry quiet power. Then he started the engine and rode on. Not as a hero, just as someone who chose kindness. And sometimes that is enough to change a day. The parking lot slowly returned to normal. Cars came and went. Carts rolled across the pavement. The afternoon light softened. Daniel rode a few blocks before stopping near a quiet park. He turned off the engine and sat on the bike. He thought about the boy's eyes. Not scared, just searching. Daniel had seen that look before. In himself years ago. He had grown up in a small town. People were kind but busy. Everyone assumed someone else would help. Daniel learned early that silence does not mean comfort. Sometimes it means waiting. He removed his helmet and rested it on the seat. What if he had ignored it, he wondered. What if he had told himself it was not his place? Nothing terrible would have happened. But something important would have been lost. A chance to listen. Daniel stood and walked toward a bench. He watched children play nearby. Laughter floated through the air. Parents talked. Friends smiled. Life was imperfect. But moments like this made it feel whole. Later that evening, Daniel stopped at a small diner. The waitress recognized him. You look thoughtful today, she said. Daniel smiled. Just thinking, he replied. She poured coffee. Good thoughts or heavy ones? Daniel considered the question. Both, he said. But the good kind. She nodded, understanding more than she asked. Daniel sipped the coffee slowly. He thought about how kindness does not need permission. It does not need to be loud. It only needs patience. The next morning, Daniel returned to the same store. Not for a reason, just routine. As he locked his bike, he heard a familiar voice. Hey, Daniel turned. It was the boy's father. Standing beside him was the boy, holding a small paper bag. We were hoping to see you, the father said. Daniel blinked. That is kind of you. The boy stepped forward. I wanted to give you something, he said. He held out the bag. Inside was a simple drawing. A motorcycle. A sun above it. 3 stick figures standing close. Daniel felt his throat tighten. "This is wonderful," he said. The boy smiled. "My dad says you listened," the boy said. "That matters." Daniel knelt. "It does," he said. "And you spoke up. That matters too." The father nodded. "We talked a lot after that day," he said. "About feelings. About slowing down." Daniel stood. "I am glad." The father extended his hand. "Thank you for reminding us to pause." Daniel shook it. "Thank you for trusting your son." The boy waved. Daniel waved back. As they walked away, Daniel stood quietly. He folded the drawing and placed it in his jacket. That afternoon, Daniel rode through the city. Past busy streets. Past quiet homes. He noticed small things. A child tugging on a parent's sleeve. A stranger holding a door open. A smile exchanged without words. The world did not change all at once. But moments like that parking lot moment made small changes ripple outward. Daniel understood something clearly now. You do not have to fix everything. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to notice. To listen when someone is overlooked. To stay calm when things feel uncertain. To treat people with dignity, even when the truth is not clear yet. That is how trust grows. Daniel rode on, steady and quiet, carrying a simple lesson. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop, look, and listen. And when you do, you may help someone feel seen. That is how hope begins. Days passed, then weeks. Life returned to its familiar rhythm. Daniel continued his routine. Morning rides, simple meals, quiet evenings. But something had changed inside him. He noticed it in small moments. At a crosswalk, he waited longer. At a store, he listened more. At a cafe, he looked people in the eyes. He understood now that attention was a gift. One afternoon, Daniel stopped at the community center near his home. A flyer on the board caught his eye. Family Day, open activities, stories and conversations. Daniel hesitated, then walked inside. The room was bright. Children sat at tables drawing. Parents stood nearby, talking softly. A volunteer smiled at him. "Welcome," she said. "Feel free to join." Daniel nodded and sat near a table. A young girl looked up at him. "Do you ride that motorcycle outside?" she asked. Daniel smiled. "I do." "Is it loud?" she asked. "Sometimes," he said. "But it listens when I ask it to slow down." The girl laughed. "That is funny," she said. Daniel picked up a crayon and began to draw with her. A simple road. A wide sky. Another child joined. Then another. Soon, Daniel was surrounded by quiet conversation and curious questions. A father nearby watched with a thoughtful expression. "You are good with them," the father said. Daniel shook his head. "I am just paying attention." The father nodded slowly. "That is not as common as it should be." Later, the organizer thanked Daniel. "You make people feel comfortable," she said. Daniel paused. "I think people already know what they need," he replied. "They just need space to say it." That evening, Daniel rode home under a soft sunset. The sky glowed warm colors. The city slowed. He thought about the boy again, about how a small moment can open a larger door. Not a door to applause, a door to understanding. At a stoplight, a young man on a bicycle pulled up beside him. "Nice bike," the man said. "Thank you," Daniel replied. The light stayed red. The man looked thoughtful. "You ever think about how strangers affect each other?" he asked. Daniel smiled. "More than I used to." The light turned green. They nodded and went their separate ways. At home, Daniel took the drawing from his jacket. He placed it on the table. A reminder, not of what he did, but of what anyone can do. You do not need special skills. You do not need the right words. You need patience and respect. The next weekend, Daniel returned to the park. Families filled the space. Children played. Voices mixed with laughter. He sat on the same bench. A mother nearby spoke gently to her son. "Tell me what you feel," she said. Daniel smiled to himself. Listening spreads. It moves quietly. From one moment to another, the boy from the parking lot would grow. So would the adults around him. All because someone slowed down. Daniel stood and walked toward his motorcycle. Before starting it, he paused. He looked around, people passing, at lives unfolding. He felt grateful, not for praise, but for the reminder that dignity matters, that fairness begins with listening, that kindness changes more than we see. Daniel started the engine and rode on, not searching for moments, just ready for them. Because sometimes the most meaningful stories begin when someone chooses to notice. And that choice belongs to all of us. The seasons changed. Leaves fell. New ones returned. Time moved forward in quiet ways. Daniel's life did not transform overnight. There was no sudden spotlight, no applause, but something steady grew. He began volunteering at the community center once a week. Not because he felt important, because he felt useful. He helped set up chairs. He listened to stories. He learned names. Children waved when they saw his motorcycle outside. Parents smiled and nodded. One afternoon, a boy asked him a simple question. Why do you always stop and listen? Daniel thought for a moment. Because everyone wants to be understood, he said, even when they do not know how to ask. The boy nodded like it made sense. Another day, a woman thanked Daniel quietly. You spoke to my daughter like she mattered, she said. She talks about that. Daniel replied softly. She always mattered. These moments did not feel big, but they stayed with him. One evening, Daniel sat alone on his porch. The sky darkened slowly. He held the folded drawing in his hands. A motorcycle, a sun, 3 people standing together. It reminded him of something important. You do not need to solve problems. You need to respect people while they solve them. He thought about how many misunderstandings begin when people rush. How many gentle moments are lost to distraction. Daniel promised himself something simple. To pause, to notice, to stay calm when others felt uncertain. Weeks later, Daniel saw the boy again at the park. The boy was laughing, running freely. He saw Daniel and waved. Daniel waved back. The father approached. He is doing better, the father said. We are learning to talk more. Daniel smiled. That takes effort, he said. The father nodded. It is worth it. As they spoke, Daniel realized something else. Kindness does not fade. It multiplies. It moves from one person to another. Quietly. That night, Daniel rode through familiar streets. Streetlights glowed. Windows shone warm light. He felt connected to something larger. Not a mission, a mindset. When he stopped at a red light, he noticed a small family crossing the street. Parent holding a child's hand. Moving slowly, carefully. Daniel waited. The light changed. He waited anyway. The family crossed safely. The parent nodded in thanks. Daniel nodded back. A small moment, but meaningful. When he reached home, Daniel turned off the engine and sat still. He understood now. The world does not always need louder voices. It needs gentler ones. It needs people willing to slow down, to listen before judging, to treat others with dignity. That day in the parking lot was not about being right. It was about being present. And presence has power. Daniel placed the drawing on the wall near his door. A reminder. Every time he left, he saw it. Every time he returned, it welcomed him. The story did not end there. Because stories like this do not end. They continue each time someone notices, each time someone listens, each time someone chooses kindness. And that choice is always available. To anyone, anywhere. All it takes is one moment, one pause, one person willing to care. Months later, the story lived on in quiet ways. Not as a headline, not as a rumor, as a habit. Daniel kept showing up. To the community center, to the park, to ordinary places where life unfolded. He never told the story unless someone asked. And even then, he kept it simple. A kid needed to be heard, he would say. So I listened. That was enough. One afternoon, Daniel was asked to speak at a small gathering. Parents, teachers, neighbors, no stage, just chairs in a circle. They wanted to talk about trust, about patience, about how adults respond when children feel confused. Daniel stood slowly. I am not an expert, he said. I just learned something the hard way. People leaned in. When someone feels overlooked, Speed makes it worse, he said. Slowing down makes room for truth. A woman raised her hand. What if we misunderstand? She asked. What if we are wrong? Daniel nodded. Then we apologize. And we keep our respect intact. The room grew quiet. That night, Daniel walked home under a clear sky, stars visible, air cool. He felt lighter than he used to, not because life was easier, because he was more present. The next day, Daniel received a letter in the mail. It was from the boy. The handwriting was uneven but careful. It said, I like that you did not rush. I am not scared to talk now. Thank you for listening. Daniel folded the letter slowly. He did not rush through this moment either. He placed the letter beside the drawing. 2 reminders. One from a picture. One from words. That evening, Daniel rode through town one last time before winter. Lights glowed in windows. People gathered indoors. At a stop sign, a woman waved him through. He shook his head and motioned for her to go first. She smiled. Small choices. Quiet respect. Daniel realized something important. The moment in the parking lot was not the point. It was the beginning of choosing patience over assumption, listening over reacting, kindness over certainty. These choices did not make life perfect. They made it human. When Daniel reached home, he parked the bike and turned off the engine. The silence felt full. He looked at the door, at the drawing, at the letter. He felt grateful, not proud, grounded. Because growth does not shout, it settles, and dignity grows where people feel seen. Daniel understood now. Every day offers the same question. Will you rush past, or will you pause? Will you assume, or will you listen? The answer shapes more than moments. It shapes people. Daniel chose to pause, and in doing so, he carried forward a simple truth. Listening changes lives. Quietly, gently, for the better.